Hello everyone and welcome you again to this new video which is about the tragedy of Hamlet that is often shortened to simply Hamlet. It is one of the most controversial plays written by William Shakespeare. The play was published in 1602, 1 year before the death of Queen Elizabeth I. Shakespeare's chef d'oeuvre, Hamlet, is a play that embodies the age of Renaissance. It is a play that encompasses thoughtful insights about the humanist philosophy as well as the mesmerizing Greek tradition of writing that is filled with mythology and fantastic elements. Before heading into the plot, we need to have a closer look at the most important and the main characters in the play that is maybe shortened or summarized into having a look at 6 or 5 characters. Hamlet, the Prince of Denmark, the title character and the protagonist, about 30 years old at the start of the play. Hamlet is the son of Queen Gertrude and the late King Hamlet and the nephew of the present King Claudius. Ophelia, Polonius's daughter, a beautiful young woman with whom Hamlet has been in love. Ophelia is a sweet and innocent young girl who obeys her father and her brother Laertes. Gertrude, the Queen of Denmark, Hamlet's mother, recently married to Claudius. Gertrude loves Hamlet deeply, but she is a shallow, weak woman who seeks affection and status more urgently than moral rectitude or truth. Claudius, the King of Denmark, Hamlet's uncle and the play's antagonist, the villain of the play. Claudius is a calculating and ambitious politician. The Ghost, the spectre of Hamlet's recently deceased father, the ghost who claims to have been murdered by Claudius, calls upon Hamlet to avenge him. Horatio, Hamlet's close friend, who studied with the prince at the University of Wittenberg. Horatio is loyal and helpful to Hamlet throughout the play. After Hamlet's death, Horatio remains alive to tell Hamlet's story. Laertes, Polonius's son and Ophelia's brother, a young man who spends much of the play in France, passionate and quick to action. Laertes is clearly a foil for the reflective Hamlet. To the plot. The story starts when Hamlet, Prince of Denmark, is back home from England to mourn the death of his father, King Hamlet, who has died 2 months earlier. Hamlet is surprised and disturbed by the marriage of his widowed mother, Queen Gertrude, to his uncle, King Claudius, who succeeded to the throne shortly after the death of his father. Later on, a ghost has appeared to guards on a nightly watch, which was seen also by Hamlet's good friend, Horatio, who was astonished by the resemblance of the ghost to the deceased King Hamlet. Horatio tried to speak to the ghost, but it refused. Shortly after that, Horatio asks Hamlet to wait for the ghost and try his chance out. Maybe the ghost would finally speak. Indeed, the ghost of his father appears to Hamlet and speaks to him, stating that he was murdered by his brother Claudius, who poisoned him in the ear. Hamlet is moved and affected by the ghost's speech and promises to avenge his father's murder. Meanwhile, Laertes, son of King's advisor Polonius, is ordered to leave to France. But before that, Hamlet's sanity starts to be doubted by all of his surroundings, which pushes Laertes to ask his sister Ophelia to stay away from Hamlet and orders her to be wary of his feelings for her. His uncle Claudius and his mother Gertrude are both worried. Polonius suggests that Hamlet has gone mad because of Ophelia's rejection of his feelings. Nevertheless, Claudius and Polonius decide to spy on Hamlet and Ophelia through employing his childhood friends Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. However, their hidden plan is quickly uncovered by Hamlet. A few days later, a troupe of players visit town, which inspires Hamlet to visualize his father's murder and thinks of hiring these actors to perform a play that recounts and realizes the ghost's speech. Indeed, Hamlet organizes everything and asks the actors to perform a murder scene in which the king is being poisoned in the ear by his brother, who is driven by greed of power. He orders Horatio to observe Claudius's reaction during the play. Claudius cannot endure watching the play and angrily leaves, which proves Hamlet's doubts and that he is the murderer of his father. Hamlet follows Claudius to the chapel and he is kneeling down to pray. He is driven by a strong desire to kill him instantly, but then refrains from doing that because Claudius is in mid-prayer, and if he kills him, he will therefore go to heaven. Hamlet then decides to wait until Claudius commits a sin, which would guarantee that he will go to hell. After that, Hamlet decides to speak to his mother Gertrude, an argument starts, the curtain moves, and whoops! Hamlet rushes to kill the one behind it, thinking that it would be his uncle Claudius, but then discovers that he killed Polonius, mistaking him for being his uncle. Later on, some news suggests that Fortinbras, Prince of Norway, whose father's lands were seized by the late king, decides to go to Denmark in order to claim back the land. Claudius asks Hamlet and his friends Rosencrantz and Guildenstern to depart to England, having a letter with them that contains an order for Hamlet's execution during the trip. Nevertheless, while at sea, Hamlet soon realizes that they are plotting against him and switches the orders, causing Rosencrantz and Guildenstern to be executed instead. Hamlet returns safe to Denmark. At the moment he arrives at Elsinore, he finds out that Ophelia has gone mad because of grieving of her father. Laertes then returns from France and is told that Hamlet has killed his father, Polonius. Claudius convinces Laertes to have a duel with Hamlet and poisons the tip of Laertes' foil. He prepared a poisoned drink for Hamlet in case Laertes loses the duel. They are interrupted by Gertrude, who denounces the death of Ophelia, who has drowned in the graveyard. Hamlet reminisces on a friend of his whose skull he has found. When arrives with Ophelia's corpus, Laertes and Hamlet argue and start fighting. In the midst of their duel, Gertrude drinks from the poisoned drink and falls dead immediately. Hamlet gets wounded by the poisoned foil and switches it to stab Laertes, who denounces Claudius's plan to kill Hamlet. He rushes and stabs Claudius and asks his friend Horatio to tell his story. The play is concluded with the scene. By this, my dears, we arrive at the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching and don't forget to share it with your friends. See you in the next video.